Asian tropics, Soviet buildings, European streets, and Dubai skyscrapers. All this comes to mind as soon as you find yourself in Batumi. It's the second largest city in Georgia and the main resort on the Black Sea. Many people call it the Georgian Las Vegas. Georgia is a country that you remember with warmth, hospitality, ancient cities, mountains, delicious food and wine. But today I'll show you a completely different Georgia. Georgia with skyscrapers on the seashore, noisy beaches and mountain peaks. You'll find out how a quiet Soviet town turned into a center of attraction for millions of tourists. I'll show you the best of Batumi, cozy streets of old city, new skyscrapers, scary Soviet houses, a hidden monastery, an incredible view on the mountains, and local cuisines that became a symbol of the country. On this trip I'm not just walking around Batumi, but I'm trying to understand it and how people live here. Welcome to Batumi, a city that stubbornly doesn't want to be predictable. Batumi is the capital of Ajar region and an important seaport. The city is located on the coast of the Black Sea, very close to the Turkish border. Batumi's location is unique because it's surrounded by the sea and mountains, and that's the reason why climate here is humid. It's no wonder Batumi is known as the wettest place in the former USSR. And speaking about history and the past of this place, Batumi was a city of labor. In Soviet times, its economy was based on factories, fishing, and the port. Here was only heavy industry, not beaches and casinos as is today. But everything suddenly changed after the collapse of the USSR. Batumi started searching for a new identity. Mikhail Saakashvili, the third president of Georgia, saw potential in the city and declared that Batumi should become the Las Vegas of the Caucasus. Many laughed at this idea at first, thinking it was just another political fantasy. But it turned out that this ambitious goal was possible. In just a few years, the city began to transform. Skyscrapers, glass facades, luxury casinos along the Black Sea coast, all of this came to life very quickly. Here's what Batumi looked like in 1980s. And here is now. These are two completely different cities. What's even more interesting is that old Soviet city still live alongside the modern buildings. Inside the old courtyards, there is a different pace of life. It feels like time has stopped. Many families speak Russian and still live in Soviet apartment buildings. For me, these details were especially touching. The first thing that catches your eye is the clothes drying on ropes stretched between buildings. They are not just practical, but also a decoration for the streets. When I first saw this, I wondered, why they dry clothes outside? And it turns out that the rooms are small and warm, humid climate makes drying process longer, so drying outside is way faster. Such little things make the city feel alive and reveal the true heart of Batumi. It has its own charm when you see Soviet buildings next to futuristic skyscrapers, like traditions and the future live side by side. The best time to explore the old city is in the morning, when the city is just waking up and streets are still empty. I noticed that a new day here starts slowly, with no rush. As I walked through the streets, I found out that Batumi has a lot of stray dogs. This isn't unusual for Georgia in general. During the day they are so relaxed that they barely react to anything. They sleep lazily on the streets, hiding from the hot sun. Georgians solved the problem of stray dogs a few years ago when the animals were caught, sterilized, vaccinated, and then released back on the streets. Today almost all stray dogs in Georgia have tags on their ears, which means that they are safe for others. But the dogs aren't the only thing that surprised me. I noticed the cryptocurrency exchanges. Batumi has a well-developed infrastructure for cryptocurrency exchange, which is quite surprising for such a traditional place. Next to the seashore, I saw many tall palm trees line the streets. It's so unusual to see European streets and palm trees together in one place. The city has plenty of buildings that will remind you something that you may see in other countries. On the Europe Square, there is the National Bank of Georgia with an astronomical clock on the tower, showing time and the positions of the sun, moon, and planets, very similar to Prague. And nearby is the Windham Batumi Hotel, that reminds of the famous Plaza Hotel in New York City. There is even a real piece of Italy here, right on the Piazza Square, and also an Armenian church, the Fountain of Neptune, etc. All this forms the city as a bright and amazing place to walk. But Batumi's architecture isn't just about referring to famous buildings. The city has its own unique things. In Europe Square stands the statue of Medea holding the golden fleece, a reminder of the ancient myth of the Argonauts and Colchis. In myth, the territory of modern western Georgia, including Batumi, was known as Colchis, the final destination of Argonaut journey. The old town seems as a mixture of different eras, styles and cultures that have come together to make it such a unique place. The next stop on our journey is the port, a key part of the city. Next to the port, you'll find locals fishing in the waters of the Black Sea. One interesting detail caught my eye: a Georgian advertisement at a bus stop. It reminded me of how unique the Georgian language is. It belongs to its own language group and completely unlike any other. There are no capital letters and many words have several consonants in a row. Learning Georgian requires a different approach and it's one of the hardest languages to learn. Here's another interesting point: the name of the country itself. In English, Georgia is called Georgia, just like the US state, but Georgians call the country Sakartvelo. This name holds special meaning for them. Sakartvelo translates to the land of the Kartli people, referring to the ancient region of Kartli in central Georgia. The name emphasizes not the religious roots of the country, as with Georgia named after Saint George, but its national origins, tracing back to the ancient tribes from which the Georgian people originated. This love of Georgians for their language and culture is reflected in one of the main attractions near the port, the Alphabet Tower. Its structure looks like a DNA molecule with the letters of the Georgian alphabet written on it. The tower is a symbol of Georgian pride for its unique culture and history. Also, you'll often see red and white flags waving in the streets. Georgians are proud of their country and they're happy to demonstrate it. Nearby is another notable tower, the Chacha Tower. Built in 2012, it was designed to amaze tourists by offering to try chacha, a traditional Georgian strong alcoholic drink. At first, chacha was even given out for free from special columns, but that didn't last long as some people started getting drunk. One of the symbols of Batumi today is Batumi Tower, the tallest building in Georgia. It's quite similar to the famous Burj Khalifa in Dubai. At the very top there is a small Ferris wheel, a detail that refers to the gambling atmosphere of Las Vegas. Originally, Batumi Tower was meant to be a technology university, which was planned to be one of the best in the world. But the plans changed and now this building is a business center and 5-star hotel. When you think of Las Vegas, you think not only of tall buildings, but also of casinos. Batumi has earned the nickname Las Vegas on the Black Sea for a reason. Casinos play an important role here and attract many tourists, especially from neighboring countries like Turkey, where casinos are banned. Among all this delight and noise, there is a quiet and touching story told through the Ali and Nino statue. This 7-meter sculpture, designed by an Italian architect, was inspired by the love story of an Azerbaijani man Ali and a Georgian woman Nino. It's a story of difficult love between two people separated by their nationalities and religions, because the girl is a Christian and the guy is a Muslim. The statue shows them continuously moving towards each other, but never truly meeting, as they part to be together again in an eternal circle. Batumi's promenade is one of the city's real gems. It's a wide beach stretching along the entire city. The promenade is connected by a long boulevard that links several parks. In some ways, it reminds me of the famous boulevard in Baku, the capital of Azerbaijan, across the Caucasus. You'll find many cozy corners here, free water fountains, ping-pong tables, a Japanese garden, and one of the most unique wedding halls in the world, the Dolphin, located right on the water. Batumi truly never stops surprising. The city stretches along the Black Sea coast, and the further you go from the historic center, the more it changes. The downtown of Batumi is busy and noisy, with constant traffic and construction on every corner. Here modern skyscrapers like hotels, casinos, restaurants rise in a place where old neighborhoods used to be. Almost the entire coast area is turned into a concrete jungle. This is why Batumi is often compared to Dubai. Made of glass and steel with a sea view, their skyscrapers look like they are striving for the peaks of Eastern and Asian megacities. The city is running through a construction boom and you can feel it at every turn. Every year more and more skyscrapers appear on the coast. It's truly an impressive sight, a city that mixes the modern East with traditional Georgia. But what's more surprising is that just steps away from these new buildings there is a completely different world. Right behind the glass and concrete towers lies the old, authentic Batumi. Here you'll find neighborhoods with small houses, cozy yards, and family-owned farms. One of the most memorable moments for me is a cow peacefully grazing on the grass against the growing skyscrapers. This is not the tourist part of the city, but it's definitely worth visiting to see a different side of Batumi. Here you can feel how the city was just a few years ago, before the wave of change. Walking through Batumi feels like you're moving between different cities, not just one. The city's authorities are working to turn Batumi into an international resort of global scale. One of the best examples of this kind of architecture is McDonald's. It sounds strange, but it's actually one of the most unique buildings in the city. At first it looks like a typical fast food place, but if you step inside and head to the second floor, you'll find a green garden in the middle of the building. There are no walls, only live plants. It feels so natural, like you're sitting not in a restaurant, but in a real garden outdoors. Along the promenade, every restaurant tries to stand out with its unique design. Mini Coliseum or an upside-down White House. All of them are restaurants that draw attention not only with their food, but also with their style. However, the city's atmosphere isn't only created by its unusual buildings, but also by its pace of life. The public transportation system is well developed. The main ways to get around are marshutkas, those minibuses familiar from Soviet times, and bicycles. The city center is especially bike-friendly, with plenty of bright red bike lanes that makes riding safe and convenient. Trains and buses run between cities in the region, but if you're taking a marshutka, be careful. The drivers tend to be aggressive and they brake sharply. In general, the traffic in Batumi can seem like a complete chaos. When you're on the roads here, it can feel like there are no rules at all. Drivers don't always follow the traffic laws, pedestrians also need to stay alert. Cars are often in a hurry and don't always stop for people as crosswalks. This adds a bit of adrenaline to daily life in Batumi. If you get hungry while exploring Batumi, don't worry. Georgian food is not only delicious, but also a key part of the country's culture's identity. Start with the most iconic Georgian dish, kachapuri. The most famous and unique version is Ajarin kachapuri. It's a boat-shaped bread with thick edges filled with a mixture of cheese and butter. On top there is a small piece of butter and raw egg, symbolizing the sun. Of course, I ordered Ajarin kachapuri in Batumi. I was amazed how big it was. One large bowl took the whole plate. There is simply no way to leave the table feeling hungry. It's also worth learning the proper way to eat Ajarin kachapuri. First you mix the cheese, butter and egg together in the middle of the bread. Then you tear off pieces of dough from the edges and dip them into the filling. Another important rule is to eat Georgian dishes with your hands. This applies to both kachapuri and the famous khinkali. Khinkali are dumplings filled with meat mixed with plenty of spices and herbs. They are boiled and served in large portions. Hinckley also has its own eating technique. You hold it by the stem at the top, take a small bite, and sip the broth inside. Then you eat the dough and the filling. The stem is left behind on the plate. To dive even deeper in Batumi's food culture, I decided to visit Boni Market. This is one of the places where you can truly feel the spirit of the city. The market has been around since Soviet times, and here you can find literally everything. There's just conversation, hospitality, and of course amazing products. As you wander through the market, you are sure to be offered samples of something. Here you can buy high quality spices, nuts, cheeses, teas, and Georgian famous churchkela, a traditional Georgian dessert. Churchkela is made by threading nuts on a string and covering them in thick grape or fruit juice. Visiting the market is a must for anyone who wants to truly experience Georgian cuisine. Georgia was a part of the USSR for a long time, and traces of this past can still be seen in Batumi. This history is most noticeable in the typical Soviet buildings, massive concrete blocks. Over time, locals have adapted them to their lives, adding balconies, painting the facades in bright colors, making these structures feel cozy. I decided to visit Batumi's most famous Soviet construction, the White Magnolia complex. Its scale is impossible to ignore. The complex, located just 25 meters from the sea, was originally designed as luxury housing. It was meant to be a perfect paradise for its lucky residents. Just step outside and you're greeted by a vast promenade. But not everything was according to a plan. During the project, contractors kept changing, materials were often unsuitable for the humid climate, and the building height was increased from the originally approved 9 floors to 15. The building was officially completed in 2011, but was never fully put into use. At first glance, this giant square block looks impressive, but a closer look reveals cracks, watermarks and mold. The building might seem 50 years old, but in reality it's much younger. This building is a monument to ambitions that never came to life. It serves as a reminder that Batumi's Soviet heritage can't always be erased or replaced by new developments. Beyond the urban atmosphere of Batumi, it's impossible not to mention the nature of Vajara. It's something truly unique. One of the best ways to enjoy the natural beauty is to take a ride on the Argo cable car. It lifts you to a height where you can take in stunning views of the city. With every passing minute of the ride, the scenery becomes more and more impressive. Below you, the streets and buildings, with each neighborhood having its own character. At the top you can walk along the observation deck and take in the full beauty of Batumi. But I wanted to go even further beyond the city, so I decided to hike up to the Tsminda Saminda monastery. This spot is famous for its beautiful church built in 1990s and its picturesque surroundings. The monastery is located at the very top of a hill, and getting there is an adventure itself. The path leads through small villages, showing a closer look at the simple Georgian way of life. As you climb towards the monastery, you feel a sense of calm. This is the kind of place that allows you to reflect or simply disconnect from the rush of the city. Once you reach the top, you'll be greeted by fresh, clean air and breathtaking views of Batumi below. At this height, time seems to stop. Everything here seems designed to let you slow down and enjoy the moment. This hilltop is truly the best observation point in Batumi, helping you to reconnect with yourself. To experience more of Vajara's natural beauty and its subtropical climate, the next day I visited the Batumi Botanical Garden. 9 kilometers from the city, here you can enjoy fresh air filled with the aromas of grass, pine, flowers, and a gentle breeze coming from the sea. The garden's history dates back to the 19th century, when it was the estate of French aristocrat. He gathered exotic plants from all over the world, and since then the garden has grown and evolved. Look, this bamboo is so thick. The garden's territory is enormous, with plenty of places to rest. I recommend walking slowly to fully immerse yourself in the atmosphere. Plants brought from different continents create incredible landscapes. At the end of the walk, you can head down to the beach at the base of the park. Here the sea meets with cliffs, creating breathtaking views that are hard to forget. The nature of Java and its impressive botanical garden are an essential part of your journey through Batumi. It's impossible to talk about Batumi without mentioning the people who live here. Despite the efforts to turn Batumi into the major international resort, Georgians remain true to their roots. In their hearts you'll find not only hospitality, but also openness and a deep desire for connection. If you don't speak the language, it doesn't matter. The locals communicate in the universal language of family, friendship, and respect. Georgia is famous for its hospitality. While people here may not hug you with a big smile at every step, Georgian kindness and willingness to help are felt in small gestures that leave the biggest impressions. For example, someone helped me pay for a ride in a bus when I got confused, and other times the owners of my hotel helped me find a place that wasn't even marked on any map. These kinds of stories don't feel like exceptions. They seem completely normal in this city. Georgia is a Christian country where family and faith play a central role in people's life. As you walk around Batumi, you'll often see locals crossing themselves as they pass by churches. Churches here aren't just for holidays, they're an essential part of everyday life. As buses drive past churches, you'll notice many Georgians crossing themselves with respect. Even children, perhaps not yet fully understanding the meaning of this action, do it out of habit, passed down by their parents. However, like anyone else, life in Batumi has its features that may seem unusual to tourists. For example, Georgians don't hesitate to talk loudly on the phone while using public transport, or listen to music straight from the phone speakers. This is a reflection of the Caucasus culture, where family and friendship are so strong that people treat each other like one big family. While modern changes are happening rapidly, the true Georgia can still be found in its small towns and villages, where everyone has known each other since childhood. Batumi meanwhile has become a meeting point for people from different backgrounds. Even elderly residents in Batumi find ways to enjoy life at their own pace. They slow down and play rounds of backgammon right on the streets. Batumi is not loved by everyone, but it will never leave anyone indifferent. Here the Soviet past meets the future with towering skyscrapers. And while Batumi is striving to become an international resort destination, it remains deeply connected to its people. This is not just a tourist spot, it's a home for those who live here, holding on to their past, yet always ready to warmly welcome something new.